What's going on, people? It's Mr. Door back again with a previous show. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, Nottingham Forest, I've got a massive game. Back-to-back games in the league this on Saturday against Brentford, and next week got Crystal Palace. But Forest fans, in the comments, how are you feeling about this game? I know there's a defeat against Arsenal. Wasn't great, but this one at the Seat Ground in front of a big crowd, it is massive. If you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. And comment below, people, what is your score prediction as well? And what do you think of the starting lineup as well is going to be as well? Before I get a special guest, as you know, I've got the man himself next to me. The man himself, Mr. Des, Do Daily. How you feeling, Des?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to writing that one from last week this weekend, hopefully, and putting that big Arsenal defeat behind us.
As you know, Des has got a YouTube channel now. I think everyone knows. But if you are new, please subscribe to Do Daily. He's just done a YouTube channel live stream. So people, after the stream, if you can, go and watch it. Like I said, he does talk a lot, but as we know. But it's something positive. Like I said, if you do suffer, like I said, with mental health, and if you do want to talk to Des about anything that you want to, if you are struggling, Des is the man. So make sure everyone to subscribe to his channel. His link is in the channel. But we've got a special guest, new to the channel. He is part of the Bees. And as you know, my good friend Billy, I met 5 years ago. I've got his friend of him, and his name is Ian. How you doing, Ian?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. A bit tensed. We've got a massive game. But people in the comments, please show some love to Ian. Before we do talk about the game, Ian, like I know you, like I said, you work with Billy with Bees. Talk about it, what you do.
So I write home match previews on the Beesotted website. So since about 2014, I've started doing that. And in each preview, I speak to the BBC local radio commentator for the station to get a real insight into our visitors. Ask about how the season's going. And I also have in video clips of previous meetings and a Beesotted podcast around the game and that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's what I do for Beesotted, and occasionally on the podcast as well.
You just said before, off stream, like I said, you are going, is it BBC Radio Nottingham in the morning?
That's right. Speaking to them, I think, for their show tomorrow night. Yeah, speak to Colin Frey. Yeah.
So people, like tomorrow, like I said, Ian is talking to Colin Frey tomorrow, talk about Brentford. So please do, Forest fans, Ian will be on there. So give a quick listen tomorrow. What time is it, Ian? Do you know?
I'm not sure. No, I think it's a pre-record for the evening, I think, whatever the time the preview show's on.
Okay, so people, like I said, duplicate, watch it on Twitter. Colin Frey always does it. You put a link on Twitter. Right, let's talk about the game. As you know, me and Des all week we've been stressful. Brentford have been on good form, but it is a massive test to Nottingham Forest. Before we do talk to Ian, Des, we're back to the Seat Ground. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about this game?
Like I said, just looking forward. You know, we've got to keep looking forward to these games. Every game's a big game for us. You know, they're all feeling like cup finals now. Whether we're trying to build on a good result like we got against Liverpool, or we're trying to sort of bounce back after a big defeat or a disappointing performance like Arsenal. You know, every game's important, and I think we're all of the consensus supporting Forest that these next two games are really big in shaping the second half of the season. So if we can get some points from them, if we can get anything from 3 to 6, you know, we're going to be in touch come what may, because there's other teams who aren't going to get 6 points over that period. So it's important for us just to cling on, and we are clinging on a little bit. I think we're realistic enough to know that it's tough, and even to have the points we've got, it's probably more than we should have in reality. You know, some of the games we've been completely outplayed, and we picked up the points against Liverpool. You know, points against Villa and Everton, where we could have easily lost. In many ways, we could have won as well. So it's just important to get back into action. I feel there was a lot of negativity, you know, as much as I've probably ever seen around the Arsenal defeat, and people getting really upset and fed up with what's happening, and especially after all the euphoria from last season. And I think we need to just get back into action, give ourselves a chance of getting 3 points and give it a real go. Of course, Brentford will be a tough opponent. They always have been. They've always been difficult for us. And the one plus point, and one question I will have for Ian is around the fact that Ivan Toney won't be playing. You know, it seems like a real plus. But anybody's number 9 missing is a bonus, and is your best player, I believe. So yeah, definitely be speaking about that. But we've just got to get back at it, Dor. We've got to get back into action and try and right a few wrongs.
Before I do get Ian, people, if you do want to ask Ian any Brentford questions, put in the comment section, and I will ask Ian. Before I get Ian, I'm going to go through the comments as well. Shout out to evening, Miss Dor and panel. How you doing, Mark? I hope you're well. Eve, hello, Miss Dor, Des, and Ian. I hope you're well. I hope you're well, Ian. Right, before we do talk about the game, Ian, like I said, Brentford in the Premier League. Talk to us, man. Like I said, it's been a crazy 2 years in the Premier League. So, what's it like playing the big boys?
Got to say, it's brilliant. I mean, I've watched Brentford since I was 6 years old. I've seen it in all 4 divisions. I never thought I'd see us in the Premier League. So it is really living the dream, even in the second season. As long as it lasts, we're going to enjoy it. We're hoping that we could, have a few years up here. Last season, I think, as you'd expect, we were the surprise package. And earlier, obviously, we beat Arsenal in the first game. And then we won at West Ham. We won at Wolves. We had a good start. And then the injuries started kicking in about October, November time. And that's when, with a sort of smaller squad than some of the other teams, we started sliding down the table. And then, obviously, we signed Christian Eriksen. And it was the comment, he didn't play initially because he wasn't match fit. It was a combination of him and players coming out from injury late February, early March, and we picked up form again and sort of finished comfortably safe. So it wasn't Eriksen played a part. It wasn't just him. David Raya, the goalkeeper, was out for 3 months injured. Ivan Toney missed a few games. A couple of other players missed them. But yeah, it's been great. Seeing Brentford play league games at Anfield and Old Trafford and all these places that you never ever see. We've done it, and so far so good anyway.
I said people ask away in if you want to. People, me and Des will take turns and giving Ian the questions. But I asked for Des does. Ian, that result that you won 4-0, was it 4-0? Me and Des watched it. I remember we watched it at the pub. How was it feeling beating Man U as well for a fantastic crowd?
That was an amazing performance. The first half particularly. Again, it's something that you never see beating Man United, but to beat them so comprehensively. The slightly annoying thing was that all the papers the next day was all about, Man United this. There was no credit to us. And in the first half, the fourth goal, the goal that went from our penalty area, the Toney pass to Ramo, one touch. What a goal that was. Literally one end to the other in seconds. And we didn't really get what we deserved. And it was just an amazing day. It really was.
Des?
Yeah, I'd like to start by sort of going back to what I said there about Toney and what we should expect on Saturday. Who's the likely replacement, and who should we, as Forest fans, really be looking out for? Of course, we've got a little bit of knowledge from the times we were playing you towards the top of the Championship, but things have changed slightly. Who is it now that's going to fill that spot and give us a tough time on Saturday?
It's a big loss, I can tell you. He was on 4 bookings for 2 or 3 games, and we were hoping, to be honest, he'd get to the Forest game and he was going to get booked there and then miss the League Cup game. So it's definitely a big blow. He's the only player we haven't really got a natural replacement for in the squad. We've got 2 players in most positions, but not him. So it's likely to be Johan Visser, who plays wide but is more of a central striker. Toney missed 6 games last year. Visser played up front in 4 of them alongside Brian and Buemo. There's a chance Sergi Canos might play out there, but my money's on Visser to step in. But what you miss with Toney, it's not just his goal scoring. If you watch us at set pieces, he's often the player who heads it off the line or clears it. He's involved all over the pitch. He's definitely a big loss. But Visser, I think, for me, will be up there.
And what sort of player is he compared to Toney? How do they match up in that sense? Because obviously Toney's a big guy. He puts himself about. He gets in behind. What should we expect?
This is more of a much quicker than Toney. Plays the ball more on the ground. Not as strong as Toney. He's got a great eye for goal. He got 7 or 8 goals last year. He'd been playing him out wide. I reckon he is more of a natural sort of central striker. So if he gets a chance, he's a reasonable chance he'll take it. But he's a different sort of player, less aggressive than Toney, I'd say as well. But a decent striker.
Ian, he'll definitely get a chance.
You say that. I was saying to Mr. Dor earlier, we haven't won the away game this season. And that's another issue for us.
I spoke to you, and it doesn't mean nothing. It won't mean nothing if Brentford have not won a Leicester. We still got lost 4-0. So Ian, it doesn't mean nothing. I got some questions from the question as well. This is from D Chapo. Who do I think we could handle Ben Mee? How do you rate him?
Ben Mee has been a revelation this season. When we signed him, we thought it was his cover because Ethan Pinnock, the other left-sided centre-half, was out injured for 2 or 3 months. We thought, okay, Mee's come in, Pinnock's fit, and he'll go back in the side. But Ben Mee has been absolutely brilliant. He's man the match 2 or 3 times. He just loves defending, and he scored a couple of goals as well. His timing, his awareness, his leadership at the back as well. He's been superb. If you saw the goal he scored against Wolves last week, a scissor kick from the corner, great goal. Yeah, he's been a really, and a free transfer as well. He's been a great signing.
Another one. This is from Mark. Question for Ian: do you think Matt Jensen will be fit?
Thomas Frank today said he will be fit. He went off against Wolves in the first half with what was a dead leg apparently, but apparently he will be fit and back in the team. He's actually probably having his best. This is his 4th year with us. Probably having his best season. He's got some fans gets a bit of stick from people, but this year I think playing alongside Eriksen actually made him a better player. They're Danish international colleagues as well. Yeah, he is going to be fit apparently.
The question I want to ask, Thomas Frank, he's a bit of a character for his club. I think he does annoy some Forest fans as well. I think when we won, I don't know what game was won. I think it was 1-0 at Sit Ground, and Des, do you remember that quote that he said? I don't know if you remember, Ian.
It was the game at Griffin Park, wasn't it? Yeah. It was the 1-0 when Joe Lolly scored, and we defended like mad for 80 minutes, I think, and he was a bit upset in the way we went about it. So he's got under the skin of Forest fans in the past, but like Dore says, he's an interesting character, isn't he? I wanted to sort of ask about him as well, and what happens with Thomas Frank now? He's linked with jobs when they come up. He's been linked with Leicester and linked with Wolves. Of course, Brentford, with no disrespect, they're gonna fit into that bracket, and inevitably before long there'll be a relegation scrap because that's what happens. What is it? What's next for Frank? Does he stay with Brentford for a long time, or does he go on and get a bigger job?
So I think this is what I mentioned this earlier on the piece that Dore and I did in the BBC earlier. I think I hope he'll be with us for a long time. I don't see him making like a sideways move to a Villa or a Leicester or Wolves. I think he'll either go maybe to a Big Six club, or personally, I think he'll stay with us for a while and go back to Denmark and manage the Danish national team eventually. That's just based on a hunch. There's no point in him going to another sort of mid-range club. Every time he gets linked with the job, he gets asked, and he says, "I've got a lot of unfinished business at Brentford." And I don't think it's flannel with him. I generally think he's a genuine guy, and he's done brilliant work, man management with the players. Tony said how much Frank's improved him as a player. Frank and Steve Cooper, as you know, had quite a rivalry in the Championship in the playoffs for 2 years in a row. So there's not much love lost between them. But he's a good guy. And yeah, he's very popular.
How far can Frank take Brentford? What is the limit for Frank and Brentford in this current form?
So I think long term, the plan I think will be for us to try and maybe in 5 years to get into one of the European competitions. You know, slowly. The way the club has gone, it's been slow progression. So if you look 7 years in the Championship, playoffs the first year, then we finished in the top half, like 9th, 10th, sort of 3 or 4 years in a row. Then the playoffs again, then the playoffs again. The Premier League finished 13th. The aim, I think, is to finish slightly higher, maybe 10th or 11th, slightly higher again. And it's all slow progression and him to grow with the club. And the way the Brentford setup is that when managers leave, so when Dean Smith left, Thomas Frank moved into that. If Thomas Frank did leave, I'm sure they've really got a succession plan. One of the other coaching staff moves in. So it's not like all the coaching staff leave and there's not massive disruption. It just carries on smoothly. So,
people, there's 62 people, and if you want to ask Ian anything about Brentford, he did tell me if he can talk for Brentford for hours and hours. So if you do want to talk, if you want any questions for Ian, please do. And like I said, if you've got any questions for me or Des regarding Forest as well, Des, I think there's been talking about Baconi. He's out for the whole season. What's your opinion? I know in the chat there's quite a lot of people a bit upset, but he's not been playing.
It's a funny one, isn't it, though? Because I've noticed it in the chat as well. Do you know, this is a guy who's he's not pulled up any trees. I know I like what I've seen of him. Do you know, I'm not criticising him. But for the euphoria that's gone around today about him being injured, of course, you feel for the guy. You know, he's young, he's 22, he's come over, he's got a big move to the Premier League. And he come with a high pedigree. I think I was only talking on the show I do on DoreOnTour, Dialing with Des, about it's a strange one because we heard, I think it was Dan Taylor via The Athletic was saying that lots of Premiership teams were looking at him and lots of Premiership managers thought we'd got a bit of a steal at 5 million. So it's interesting in that sense that he's not really had a look in. I seen him in pre-season very early. He looked decent. So whilst it's a shame for him, I'm not so sure why there's all the hysterics going around and everyone's a little bit upset by it. You know, unfortunately in football, these things happen, don't they? And I'm not being flippant with it. It's horrible when it happens, but it does happen. And in many ways, and this is going to sound brutal, it'd be a lot worse if it was somebody from the first team. You know, because we don't really know what our first team is, I believe, at the moment. Not many people do. So losing players from the ones that are playing would be a difficult one to swallow.
It's the 70 people in the chat, and I said, people, if you don't know, I'm Mr. Door. Next to me, Mr. Scott Daily. I'm always got the ear, a Brentford fan, and as you know, it's a massive game especially for Nottingham Forest. With 2 games till the World Cup starts, and it's a massive 6-pointer as well. If you've got any questions for Ian, please put them in the comments as well. I will ask them. This question for Ian. I think we'll talk about the stage 1 question. Ian to Westbrook, where do you think your team will finish the season? And Ian, let me just try to redo that question. At the start of the season, where did you thought Brentford will finish? But right now, where do you think Brentford will finish top 10? So let's start. Where do you think Brentford would have finished?
I thought we'd finish about 11th this season, and I still think it'll be about there. I don't think we'll be top 10, but I think we'll be around about the middle of the table. So yeah, I'll go for 11th.
11th? I thought you might be, because we mentioned Tony. I know he's suspended on Saturday, but
I think the thing, if you look at it, for example, although I said we haven't won the away game, we've still got to play away to all the big teams. So if you write those games off, pick up points against the other 14, the teams aren't the big 6. So I think we'll be fine. I don't think we're going to be challenging the top 6 or 8, but I think we'll be comfortably clear of any trouble. So that's what I go for.
So Ian thinks finish 11. People in the comments as well, like I said, I mentioned it, me and Des talk about it all the time. I'll do a show later on about where they think Forest will finish. I think I'll do it after the Crystal Palace game. So it is. Ian, I spoke to you before stream about your old stadium, Griffin Park. I love Griffin Park. I love the food. I think we beat them 1-0 and I miss it a lot. But as a fan, do you miss it or do you prefer the new stadium that you've run in?
I definitely miss it. I mean, I was going to Griffin Park for years and years and years, right from being a boy, and taking my kids out and going with loads and loads of memories there. But I think I said to you, I have done a really good job with the new stadium. The move happened during COVID, which was a real disappointment. We couldn't say goodbye to Griffin Park properly. But the way they've done it, you managed to move your season tickets in blocks of people you were with before, so you're with the same people. The ground is quite close to the pitch. The atmosphere, particularly under lights, the atmosphere is really good. And obviously, it's been virtually full for every game as well. They've squeezed it into a plot of land between the railway, the M4 motorway, and another A roads. How they've got a stadium there, I don't actually know. And it does feel like home now. It won't be Griffin Park, but it feels like we've moved to the next stage. I said to you, I can't go back. I think one stand of Griffin Park still there. I can't go back to the road where it is. I just don't want to see that, demolished. But
I know. I said, Ian, like I said, I love Griffin Park. When we beat them 1-0, I think I went to Griffin Park 3 times. We lost. I think we won, drawn, and we lost. But Des, can you remember that game, Des? Did you go, Des?
Which one?
When we beat them 1-0 with Joe Lolle.
Yeah, I was behind the goal when he put that in. Yeah,
if people not saw that vlog, that was a fantastic day. And like I said, I missed the 4 pubs in the corner as well. But like I said, it was a fantastic round. Ian, like I said, it's a tough game for Forest. And as a rival fan, it's been documented for what's happening. What's your opinion on the whole Forest situation?
I've got to say, I thought it was the wrong approach signing so many players. When Fulham came up, was it 3 or 4 years ago? They signed 15, 16 players, went straight back down.
You can't say that, Ian.
You've asked me the question. So and when we came up last year, we signed 6 players. And I thought that was the right thing. Because I know you had players on loan, but the team that got us promotion, largely last season, I think 8 or 9 players in that team started every game. And most of those players are still there. And I was really pleased we had the continuity. And that's why we did all right. I mean, obviously, listen, anything can happen. But I'm sure a lot of people have said it. I did think you signed too many players. But how do you make them into a team so quickly? There's no time in the Premier League to do that. You did ask. That's my opinion.
I know. I did ask, but I get it. I understand. We do get done with Des, but
yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we know what we needed, and we know that we had a team that overachieved, massively last season. What happened at the end of the season was with a team that was struggling going into oblivion back into League One at the start of the season. So it was almost like we felt we needed that to happen, and then why Dore's a bit frustrated is because we're having to accept what everybody's saying.
Exactly, that's why I am.
And now we've got to eat humble pie and say it's not working, because it really hasn't worked, and it's just been a tough one. I love the fact that you've sort of backed up that point with the fact Brentford only signed 6 players. Because I've said it many times on this show and on other shows I do for Dore, where I'd have loved Forest to sign the loan players. I get told off for that now. I get told off and get over them. Well, at the time, I thought we would sign those loan players and we would sign 3 or 4 even better players, and that would be how we approach the season. But it's not worked out like that. And like I mentioned about the first team, I don't think it's anybody's fault in particular. I'll get shouted at again and saying I'm backing Steve Cooper up, but the signings have come from all different directions. They're all not all of them are Steve Cooper's, and he's got to find a way of making it work and proving that he can make players work. And it just must be the toughest job in football right now.
There's a good question for you, Ian. And this, like I said, we mentioned the Forest have changed everything, but I think this is just a fantastic thing from Sanjay. Ian, the Forest have a lot of change, a lot of backroom changes regarding head recruitment. Have Brentford kept stability in terms of backroom staff and chop and change?
Yeah, very much. It's the same backroom staff when we got promotion. So Thomas Frank, assistant coach, a guy called Brian Reamer, and his other assistant coach is Kevin O'Connor, who played 500 games for us. He's like the Brentford continuity. Head recruitment spoke with Lee Dykes. He's been there for a while. The only one we did lose was Rasmus Ankersen. We had 2 directors of football who was behind and negotiated the transfers. Rasmus Ankersen and Phil Giles. Phil Giles is still there, but Rasmus went to Southampton in January, I think. So he's the major behind-the-scenes loss, but everybody else is still there.
Great questions, Sanjay. Like I said, if any questions, like I said, we've got another 60 minutes to hear people. So if you can, any questions for Ian, please do. There's any questions for Ian?
I'm just looking at that comment from Paul. Wasn't it at Brentford that Bukalaki scored those 2 crackers? Do you remember those?
Was.
I remember that. Yeah.
When that 4-3, I still know what. From this day, I still don't understand Bukalaki. It's like we signed him. He wasn't great. That's the best game he's ever had at Forest, Ian. The best game, and we never heard of him.
The only game we ever had, wasn't it?
That was the only game we ever heard of Bukalaki, and then he went back to Olympiacos. Where's the question? There it is from Paul. How are you doing, Paul? I'll see you on Saturday. But yeah, Bukalakis, yeah, 4-3 that was.
So bringing it back into the present, Dore, and asking Ian a question about the weekend, what is it you expect from Forest? What sort of game and how do you see it panning out?
I think it depends how the game starts. Because in this season we've let in goals in the first minute at Fulham and Villa. Villa hammered us. Fulham we got back into the game but lost it. I think if we can start well, I know how noisy it is at the City Ground, what the atmosphere is like. If we can quieten the crowd a bit, get into the game, then we might have a chance of doing something. I think I'll be happy with the draw at this stage because without Ivan Toney, with our away record, we've not scored many goals recently. We haven't scored we only scored 1 goal in the last 3 games. So we're lacking a bit up front. So, yeah, I'd take a draw. But I think if you start fast and get an early goal, with the atmosphere and everything else and the way we've been recently. And the Villa game was a nightmare. I mean, we lost 4-0. We were terrible. So, you know, I fear an early goal. But if we can get through that stage, I hope we can get something.
That's interesting, because one of the Brentford games I saw I watched fully this season was the Arsenal game when they played you at home. And of course, Arsenal are a great side anyway. But just as a bit of a football punter, I'd got that down as both teams to score. I thought Brentford were playing well, you know. But when Arsenal scored early, it almost seemed to knock the stuffing out of Brentford a little bit in that game. It happened to us at the weekend. It happens to most teams. But I just from thinking, Brentford are a good side, someone who's good, a team that are on the up and can take it to the big teams, especially after we saw the Man U game and some of the results after that. That Arsenal game, they just seemed a little bit timid when they went behind. And I would hope, and I'd like you to answer what I just said, but I would hope Forest take it to Brentford, you know, quickly. I always like Forest to start off on the front foot because I think it's so important we get the first goal. But having seen Brentford in those circumstances, it'd be really interesting. I remember the game against Brighton too, where you actually got the first goal but was under a lot of pressure. Yeah. And then you managed to see the game out. So I think it could be really important.
I mean, you know, this season we've come back 3 times. So Leicester, first day of the season, we were 2 down. Had a bad first hour, but then we got back into it, got a 2-2 draw. And then the Fulham game, we were 2 down in that quite quickly. Again, we got back into that at all, but lost it in the last minute. Palace, we were 1 down, and Vista scored in the last minute for a draw. So we have come back in some of these games. It was the way, you know, I said Fulham and Villa started fast against us. That Arsenal game was a very odd day because it was just after the Queen died. There was no music. 12 o'clock on a Sunday is a rubbish time to play football. There was no atmosphere inside the ground. Obviously, Arsenal were really good. We didn't get going that day. Our home record's been all right. We've done okay at home. As well as Man U, we'd stuffed Leeds, we beat Brighton, had a couple of draws. We've been all right at home. It's just this away thing we need to sort out, really.
Before I get Ian's score prediction for that game, people in the comments put your score predictions. I will ask Des and Ian. I got a super chat from Andrew Sharp. Thank you for the £2. All 3. Where will Forest finish? Honest prediction. Let me go for Ian. Ian, do you think Forest will go down?
Am I allowed to say it? I think.
Say it.
I think you will. I think you'll be 18th or 19th. I just think you got too much to do already. What I said before, gelling too many players into a team, I think for any manager would be really hard. So I do think you'll be in the bottom 3.
Ian had to say it, didn't I? I feel upset now. Thanks, Ian. But actually, we'd love to be back on, Ian. I think this is from. I don't know if this is a Brentford fan. Brentford could slap up or slap someone else like they got battered 4-0 against Newcastle, 5-1, and Arsenal 3-0. But Brentford are a great team, and I think will be a draw this week. I think he said 1-1 there. Patch says 2-1 to Brentford. Bloody hell. I think he's a Forest fan as well. But people get prediction in. I'm going to ask you. Let me ask you, Des, first. I know it's early doors. So I do apologise, Des. What's your for Saturday?
Having listened to Ian and the way Brentford often start games, I'd like Forest to start on the front foot. You know, if we show that kind of intent we had against Liverpool and really got in the faces a little bit, I think we've got a chance of nicking the first goal. That's not always proved. What did worry me when Ian said they come back into games, Forest have been 2-0 up in games and got beat. So that doesn't mean necessarily too much. But again, that first goal is massive for Forest. Because if we don't get it, you know, whilst we have lost some from being in front, when we go behind, it looks impossible. It just becomes really, really tough because we're having to play quite deep and quite compact, and it doesn't give the strikers much to feed off. So if we can get it, hold on to it for a bit, you know, and a bit longer than we have been when we've taken leads, and show something like we showed against Liverpool, I think there's a chance. I think there's a real chance. Tony's not playing, which is obviously a loss for them. So I don't know. My heart's saying 1-0, which it always does at the minute. And my head is probably saying 1-1. I think based on their form and the fact we might score first and they haven't got bags of goals through the fact Tony's not playing, I think I'd go for 1-1 at the moment.
Okay. Ian, what's your score prediction?
I was also going to go for 1-1. I just think, I said with our away form, you beat West Ham and Liverpool 1-0, didn't you? I do think both teams will score, even though we haven't got Ivan Toney. There'll be players who, out to try and get a place in the team. The team does change, particularly out front a bit. Vissa's in and out the team, Canos in and out the team. The chance of people to maybe stake a claim to get a place. I'm going to go for 1-1 as well.
Okay, so Ian and Des say 1-1. I'm saying it early prediction. As everyone knows, I don't do score predictions for an hour before the game. I know it's a Thursday, but I feel I think I'll say 2-1 Forest. The only reason because of Tony. Brentford, they still got a good time. I know. Is it Lewis Potter?
Yeah, King Lewis Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. He played for Hull.
Yeah.
And I remember I sat with Des that game, and he's a really good player. And Wish Forest signed him as well. So he's another player that we've got to watch. And yeah, I rate, like I said, Thomas Frank. He is a bit of he likes to cause trouble when he talks about Forest, and Forest fans hate it for it. I think, that game when we beat 1-0, I think he annoyed us, but we won. But he's a cheeky character. But I'll say 2-1 Forest. 2-1 Forest. I'm happy. I'm happy about it. Right, it's been a pleasure, Ian.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Like I said, thank you for taking your time. I know, like I said, he does some work for Precisely B as well. So there's 67 people. But before you do, Ian, talk again. What do you do?
So for Besotted, I write home match previews for all the Brentford home games, and I speak for each one the BBC local radio commentator or reporter for our opponent, just to get a real sort of insight to who we're playing. It was a guy called Robin Chipperfield did Forest before he went to Australia, and now Colin Craig we're doing Forest. The same people around the country, because they know far more about the teams we're playing than I do. It's interesting stuff. So that's what I do. And very occasional podcast, but mainly I do the previews.
And as you know, people are saying myself and Ian, we did something for the BBC, but it was about if Steve Cooper or Thomas Frank who will get the better job in the future. I did say Thomas Frank because he's been in the Premier League longer, so I think he'll get the top job than Steve Cooper, because Steve Cooper new to the Premier League, and I think Thomas Frank he's proven it that he kept Brentford in the Premier League last season, and I think he's done well. I think he was linked with Aston Villa once. I don't know if he was, Ian.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but he
yes.
Wasn't interested in that.
So if you can, people, if you got it's on my Twitter as well. So if you want to read what I put and what Ian put, go on my Twitter feed. The link is there. Make sure everyone reads it. Right, it's been a pleasure as well. Next to me, Des done a YouTube, a nice vlog, live vlog as well. So people, so Des, if there's new people, Des, talk about your YouTube channel, mate.
Yeah, it's a bit different than football. I've said it a lot on this channel. It's more about trying to be positive and enthusiastic with life. I talk about my daily ups and downs and try and relate them into doing positive things and enjoying the things we do. It's not wishy-washy, sometimes it's quite uncomfortable for me to talk on, but it's just things that I'm experiencing to try and make other people understand that it's okay not to be okay. I don't go heavy on the old mental health thing. It's just something that's just trying to create some positivity. 5 or 10 minutes every day, just what I've been doing, the way I'm feeling, the way I use a bit of running and walking and the things like Forest, to enjoy life and just to create something a little bit different. And one of the big things I get out of it is it keeps me talking and processing what's going on in my head as well. So it's just a bit of light relief, and especially if somebody is feeling it, they might just think, oh, he's lived this experience, and he's trying to get through it.
I've just seen a comment from Mark. Where did you and Ian say the Forest Brentford will finish on the BBC programme? And what I'll do, I'll put the link in the description, people, so you can read mine and Ian's, or say what we said about the both managers. So I will put the link in the description. So if you can after this programme, please read it. It's quick, 30 seconds. And it was really, I said my bit, Ian said his bit. So like I said, people go and have a check. Right, Des and Ian, thank you very much for taking your time on this channel as well. Like I said, people, if you are new to the channel, please please subscribe to the channel. Everyone subscribe to Des as well. Both his links in the title as well. Big game for Forest like on Saturday. We must win. We've got to win. If we don't, I don't know where we can get from here. But like I say, it's a massive game against Brentford on Saturday. So if you are coming, if you want to meet me before the game, people, I'll be outside the ground, 12:30, 1 o'clock, outside the boot room. I'll be with this annoying guy next to me. He'll be doing his pitch footy as well. So if you do want to go pitch footy as well and talk to Des, he'll be there. He's not getting on it. He's not getting me on it because I've had enough of him already. So people, if you see me and Des, come and talk to us and get on the vlog as well. Right. Thank you everyone for watching. Like I said, I'll be back on the review show will be Sunday at 8 o'clock. So I'll be back on there as well to talk about, hopefully we'll be happy with a Forest win. I'll be begging. We need a win to help us get away from the bottom three. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you on Sunday. Peace and love, and up the Forest.
Cheers.